Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace, a platform where you can design beautiful websites and host your online store. And it was one of the best decisions I made to help me become a full-time photographer. Today, I'm going to talk about how I quit my job as a mechanical design engineer and became a full-time astrophotographer. And for you guys to truly appreciate why I fell in love with astrophotography so much, I've got to go way back to when I was a little kid. I was a little golden mushroom. And as a kid, I loved school. I was gifted at mathematics and science. I loved maths. It's like a language to me, and everything just came really easy. And I also loved art, drawing, sketching, creating, and all of those sort of creative things as well. But as you go through school, you have to choose less and less subjects. So here in the UK, we go through GCSEs, then we go through sixth form college where we have to choose 3 or 4 subjects. And picking maths and physics was straightforward for me. But I also wanted to do art. And I remember like my teachers saying, you know, you're a gifted kid, you're good at maths and science. What are you going to do with art? Like, stick to the technical subjects, you'll get a good job and you'll have a good life. But eventually I went on to university to study physics and astronomy in Cardiff University. Now, long story short, I got way too involved in drinking, drugs and partying, and they kicked me out at the end of the first year of university. And they kicked me out after the application process for university that year. So I couldn't go back to university that year. And then to top it off, in the same year, I got fired from my job and I got arrested in possession of drugs. And I was in a really bad place. I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. So I took a long soul-searching trip to Turkey, a beautiful place called Butterfly Valley. Had the most incredible time, met the most inspiring people. I was just 19 years old, trying to figure out who I was. And I came back to Wales to study at university. I got into Swansea University and studied mechanical engineering. Don't ask me why, because I can't tell you. I still hadn't fully worked out what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. But I felt that mechanical engineering was a way to apply mathematics and physics in a more applicable way to the real world. Graduated with a first-class honours, which I'm still incredibly proud of to this day. And then I went to Turkey to work my first engineering job. I really wanted to be independent, support myself, and, you know, get into the real world and just live independently. So I thought moving to a different country would be the best way to do that. But the pay in Turkey, the workers' rights, the quality of life, it's just not great. So I ended up crawling back to the UK and working as an engineer in the UK. And I was working as a CAD design engineer of engine cooling systems. But I still wasn't happy. It just wasn't very fulfilling. I never found myself waking up excited to go to work. And I fell into this just sort of loop of depression of working through the week and then living for the weekend, spending the weekend just drinking, taking drugs, waking up, feeling awful, suffering in bed, and then going back to work on Monday and just repeating this vicious cycle of depression and, you know, not having a purpose in life, and then just alleviating that depression on the weekend. But I had a holiday booked to Turkey to go see my friends. I missed my friends dearly. And that holiday was timed with the Perseid meteor shower. And I was going to a dark sky place. And I'd always wanted to get into photography. Even growing up, I always had a compact camera. I really enjoyed taking photographs, and I would always pinch my granddad's DSLR whenever I could. But I just never really had the money to get into it. But now I was working as an engineer, had a bit of income, and I decided to get my first DSLR. So this is me in May 2015 with my Canon 100D. And the first thing I did was take a selfie in the mirror with the flash on. You can tell I'm part of the MySpace generation. And if you look closely, you can even see where I grated my own knuckles putting cheese on my bolognese the day before. My granddad always used to say to me, you might be a genius, but you've got no common sense. And they're words that have kind of stuck with me for my whole life. But I took the camera up to my local hill and tried my first long exposures. Didn't have a tripod at the time, so I just put the camera on a fence post, fired off a long exposure. I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I saw the image on the back of the screen. And the camera could see more than I could see with my eye. It picked up more stars, it could see more detail. And I just felt like I'd entered a new world, a new way of seeing the world. And I couldn't wait to start photographing the stars in the night sky in a proper dark place. Now, long story short, I went to Turkey and failed miserably at photographing the Perseid meteor shower, but I did capture some beautiful images of the Milky Way and even my first Milky Way panorama. And I just remember that feeling of sharing these images with like my friends back home and showing them this beautiful place in Turkey that I love. And of course, living in Wales, I've got dark skies on my doorstep. So I was going to the Brecon Beacons Dark Sky Reserve, which is very close to me, down to the Glamorgan Heritage Coast. Again, beautiful dark skies, but you can see the Milky Way. And I just very quickly became obsessed with photography because I realized that this little machine was the one thing that finally amalgamated all of the things that I loved doing in life and all of the things that I was good at. So there's the technical aspect of photography, the engineering of lenses and lens design, the physics and properties of light and how light works, the mathematics of the settings and the exposure value. But then you've got this very technical machine that allows you to be creative and artistic, and you can, express yourself artistically. I could use my knowledge of the night sky to plan my images, my love of the great outdoors and camping in the wild and traveling the world, and everything was just brought into this one little machine that allowed me to capture moments and share them with my friends and family and just inspire them and give them enjoyment through my images. And so I started sharing images on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. And over time, my images were being shared by news outlets and media companies and, Instagram hubs that share your images, and just starting to build a following. And when you have followers, like people you've never met before, and they're liking your photos and they commented on your photos saying how grateful they are that you go out and take these photographs at crazy hours, it's just so incredibly motivating. And I think I finally felt that I had some sort of purpose. I could do something that I myself loved and enjoyed doing so much, whilst giving pleasure and enjoyment to other people and people that I'd never even met before. Eventually, I started getting requests for prints. People want to buy my prints to hang in their house, and tourism boards and media companies want to license my images in their magazines or in their brochures. And it was mad. I was making money from something that I just enjoyed doing. It wasn't very much money. It was, a little bit of pocket money. And then people started getting in touch about workshops and one-on-one private sessions. And I started giving it a bit of a serious think. I love teaching things. I love taking complex things and making them simple for other people, because it's really not that difficult. And so I started doing some sort of private one-on-one sessions, and eventually started doing group workshops in the Brecon Beacons, and they were great. Like, I met some amazing people. I got to teach them and inspire them things. The feedback I was getting was incredibly rewarding, and I just loved doing it. It was just a great way to spend time, and an even more incredible way to make money. And it was around about this time that I realized that I needed to make a website. So I set up a website. I needed a place to advertise my workshops, and I set up my website on Squarespace, who just so happen to be the sponsors of today's video. I set up with Squarespace because I saw some other photographers using them at the time. You can start with really beautiful themes. They've got loads of themes that you can start with, and you can customize that theme to your heart's content. There's not even a Squarespace watermark on the website. The galleries look beautiful. You can customize those to how you want. Your images look way better than they ever will on social media, because social media companies like Facebook and Instagram compress your images. They lower the quality of your images because it costs them to store your images. But with a website like Squarespace, your images are seen in full quality. There's no image compression. But I used my website again as a way to advertise my workshops, and what I realized is, because of the search engine optimization, the SEO, my website was appearing in Google searches, in search engines. And so when people search for Astrophotography Workshop Wales, my website comes up on top. You might have loads of followers on social media, but if people are searching for something, they typically use search engines. And if you try and search for workshops on Facebook or Instagram, nobody's going to find me. So having a website, being able to be discovered in searches, just made a huge difference. I got lots more bookings and people on the waiting list for my workshops. Everything is just really simple and straightforward, and it just made my life a breeze. It was the best thing I did to advertise my workshops and sort of further develop my business. So if you would like to give it a go and set up your own website, go to squarespace.com/Alan. You can have a free trial. You can customize and design a website to your heart's content. And if you're happy with it and you want to continue with it, you can get 10% off your first purchase for a domain or a website just by using that link, squarespace.com/Alan. Now, it was around the same time that I started doing workshops that I also started doing camera club talks. So here in the UK, every town and city has at least one camera club. A bunch of people who get together on a sort of weekly basis. They have competitions, they set themes to photograph throughout the week, and they have competitions between the clubs and little sort of workshops and tutorials between themselves. And every now and then they also have guest speakers, and they pay for these guest speakers. So it started for me very locally and just doing sort of very local Welsh clubs. And then word sort of spreads. If you give a good presentation, a beneficial, entertaining presentation, they talk to the other clubs and then you get booked by other clubs. And again, having a website meant that people were finding me through Google and inviting me to come and talk at their camera club. So this again became another way to make a little bit of money. And then it was getting to a point where I wasn't making enough money to support myself through photography, but I was like, if I quit my job and dedicate more time into building a business, maybe I can develop enough revenue to support my life and to live from my photography. So I saved up a bit of money in work just to have that safety cushion of like 6 to 12 months in case, I just didn't make any money after quitting my job. It was also around that time that I signed the contract on my book deal with PhotoView, Photographing the Night Sky. I promise you it's coming soon. Please don't kill me. I know I keep saying this all the time, but it's coming soon, I promise. I just realized that I just need more time to dedicate to my photography and to growing this business. And so I quit my job, and it was one of the most difficult decisions to make, to quit, such a stable, monthly, good income, to then becoming completely solely dependent on yourself and your own actions and your own business. And the first 6 or 7 months, no jobs came in, no emails came through, absolutely nothing came through. And it was just such an incredibly anxious and nerve-wracking period where I was just full of regret. What have I done? Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. But I had a plan. I was going to stick to that plan, and I was going to work hard and develop those, income streams and do more workshops, work on my book and work on some other things. And eventually the ball started rolling, and I was making enough, not quite as much as I was as an engineer, but enough to live and survive. And I'm quite fortunate that I was living in my parents' house, so I had less bills and things to worry about. So that was, a great help. I've got a good supporting family behind me. And then perhaps the second best decision I made to become a full-time photographer after creating a website was starting a YouTube channel. Now, I'd always loved vlogging. I haven't owned a TV for over 10 years. I hate TV. I grew up in a period where reality TV was blowing up, and it's the fakest thing you could possibly imagine. It's so scripted and BS. But vloggers, people on YouTube with a single camera just recording their lives and creating videos, to me was just so much more authentic and genuine, and I just connected with it a lot more. I used to follow a lot of the OG UK vloggers like Ben Brown, Fun for Louis, Steve Booker. Just watching these guys create interesting videos about their daily lives, and it was just super authentic to me. And then Casey Neistat came along and just completely blew up the genre. And I was even one of Thomas Heaton's first, I think, 3,000 to 4,000 followers. I found Thomas Heaton on a subreddit, a photography subreddit, back when he was just starting his YouTube channel, sort of camping out in the Lake District and Peak District. And I just loved this authenticity. It was so genuine. I didn't think it was possible for me to vlog. First and foremost, I just didn't like being in front of the camera. And secondly, I'm an astrophotographer. I'm in the darkest environments. So how was I ever going to film a video? And then one day on YouTube, I saw a video from the A7S camera, the Sony A7S, of the Milky Way in a video, and it just blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. A consumer grade camera was able to film the stars and the Milky Way. And from that moment, every pound and penny I saved was going towards buying myself an A7S II. And as soon as I got that camera, I created my first astro vlog in September 2017. It's still looking good. There's a lot more stars in the sky. I'm beginning to see the Milky Way a little bit. So I'm getting excited. It's just whether these clouds are going to hold off. I thought I'd look back on this vlog and cringe, but I actually still love it. I never expected YouTube to go anywhere. I did it just because I just loved doing it. I love the idea of sharing my adventures in a video format, because when you share a photograph, you can't share the full story. And through YouTube, I was able to share my adventures, the planning, share some tips and tricks to help other people, to inspire other people. And realistically, I never saw myself getting that many followers. I thought to myself, you know, if in 3 or 4 years' time, I've got 10,000 followers, I'll be over the moon. And yet here we are, close to 100,000. It's wild. I never thought that many people would be interested in astrophotography, and yeah, it's been crazy. And I never thought YouTube could be much of an income revenue either. I mean, realistically, it's not. Just to give you an idea, in the 4 years that I've been vlogging, 4 or 5 years, I've made nearly £12,000 in ad revenue from YouTube. And just to sort of clarify that a bit more, 8,000 of that has been in the last year. The pandemic was a little bit crazy. There were a lot more people watching YouTube videos and a lot more companies advertising on YouTube, because a lot of people were at home on computers watching videos rather than being out and about in the streets. So a lot more advertising money has been going into things like YouTube, but I won't go into that into more detail now. And then of course there are sponsored videos on YouTube. So Skillshare sponsored the What's in the Night Sky series. Squarespace are currently sponsoring this video. That kind of helps justify YouTube a little bit more, because the amount of time, effort and money you invest in YouTube, you don't make back from ad revenue until you get to some crazy follower count. It just, you know, it's difficult to justify doing it, especially when you're starting out. But YouTube, you know, it was a way for me to connect to more people. And it also was a way for me to attract people to my workshops. I started seeing people coming from much further afield to my workshop. So my waiting list was getting bigger and bigger. 2 guys even came from Germany. And so it was like a way to advertise myself. And the good thing is that when people came on workshops with me, they already felt like they knew me, because they've been watching all of my videos. They know what kind of person I am. They know what I can bring to the table. And they've made the decision to come on a workshop with me. And so if they already like me, I'm probably going to like them. We're going to be very like-minded people. And like the clients that I was getting from my workshops were all just like amazing people. And I think YouTube was a huge benefit for that, because people kind of felt like they knew me already. But also through YouTube, I was discovered by the BBC, and I started working with the BBC on something called BBC Sesh, which was like a new faction of the BBC, which was creating like online content on social media. So I was producing videos for them pretty much at my leisure, and they pay me for those videos. Wasn't a great amount, but again, it was another sort of stream that makes a river. And then eventually that just sort of helps to spread the word. It helps you get your foot in the door. And I started getting other work from the BBC. I started providing time-lapse footage for various documentaries, night sky footage for documentaries and TV shows, and having TV appearances. And it even eventually led on to me having my own documentary, because at the end of one of the documentaries that I did time-lapse footage for, I was the BTS, the behind the scenes. And the BBC commissioner enjoyed that sort of 5-minute segment so much, he approached me and said, we're looking to do some content or a show to celebrate the Apollo 11 moon landings. Do you have any ideas? And so I pitched the idea of Moonshot, which basically follows me traveling around Wales, uncovering Welsh links to the moon and the moon landings, all in an effort to find inspiration to take a photograph to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the moon landings. And sadly, it's not on iPlayer anymore, but you can watch the climactic last 10 minutes where I capture the moonshot. It's up on my YouTube channel. And another thing that I'm super proud of is that in the same year, I was invited to do a TEDx talk about the impact of light pollution. I love TED Talks and TEDx Talks, find them incredibly inspiring. And to be given that opportunity and that platform for me was really, really big. So you can go and watch that on YouTube as well on the TEDx channel. I'll link it up above and down below. And then there are some other sort of revenues that have helped me be a full-time photographer. So for example, my Astro Workflow Lightroom presets, these were born from my experience giving workshops. And I realized that when it came to editing, people didn't know where to start, they didn't know what to do next, and they didn't know when to stop editing. So I basically shared my personal workflow, my structured workflow, so that people know where to start, how to edit, and then when to stop. And it went from teaching this in workshops to developing them into Lightroom presets that allow you to edit by this sort of structured workflow. So I'm hoping to update those very soon, because it's been a few years now and I've got a few more ideas and tweaks that I want to do. So stay tuned for that. And then also through YouTube and again social media, another way to make money is by making commission on sales. So being an ambassador for a company, and then when people use your discount code, you get a little commission on the sale, for example. One of the big ones being Move, Shoot, Move, the guys who created this Move, Shoot, Move star tracker. And they sent me a prototype before they sort of launched as a company. And it was a bit rough on the edges. There were things that they needed to improve. And they really took my feedback on board and developed this tracker. And it's now one of the most popular trackers, wide-angle trackers on the market. They've really developed and grown as a company, and I really believed in them, and we had such a good working relationship that I was happy to be an ambassador for them, because they basically designed a product that I had wanted for years and years. A super portable star tracker that's great for wide angle work, that I can carry up the mountains and not worry about the weight of it. And yeah, over the years, you know, they've really listened to my feedback and customer feedback and developed a pretty awesome product, lots of lovely accessories. Another company that I am an ambassador for is Case Filters. And with these ambassador roles, it's all about believing in the company and being genuine, because I would not recommend a product that I don't use myself, that I don't think is of, you know, the best quality. So an example of that is Benro. I'm an ambassador for Benro tripods, but I don't get any commission from any sales of Benro tripods. I just love their products. I think they're great bang for buck, and I'm just really happy to be an ambassador and promote their brand. And I get free tripods from them, but you know, I don't get commission. I don't make any money for it. I just genuinely believe in the brand. I think they're great bang for buck. I was approached by Gitzo to be an ambassador for Gitzo, but I just couldn't comfortably promote a tripod that's like 800, 900, 1,000 pounds. For me, Benro is like the best quality for the lowest amount of money. Still, they're not cheap, but it's just a really good investment. So, and now of course I've gone on to create my own products. So I used my engineering degree and designed the Z and V Star Tracker platform, basically to solve the issue of having your ball head at an awkward angle when using a star tracker. And I took the idea to Move, Shoot, Move. They liked the idea. They refined the design a little bit based on like their suppliers and all that stuff. And we worked together really well. And they manufactured it and dealt with all the distribution. And it's been great. Like, I designed these things to solve a problem that I had. And other people have been finding different uses for the V and Z Star Tracker platforms in just different scenarios, and man, it makes you feel so good. And I did that again with Case. So many, many years ago, I had this idea for the Star Glow filter, and I approached Case, and we spent years refining this filter to my specifications, to the point where Case were probably getting pretty fed up of me, because I really wanted the filter to be of a certain spec, and they weren't quite nailing it. So it took us a long time to get there. And now to have that product on the market selling worldwide, it's just crazy. Like, I was in the field the other day using my Z platform and my own filter with my name on it. Like, it's mind-blowing. But that's another source of revenue, of course, and I make commissions on all of the sales now. But obviously it's quite difficult to design and bring a new product, to the market. Now, things were going incredibly well. I've got sort of my digital products in my presets. I've got my physical products in the platforms and the Star Glow filter. I'm doing camera club talks and presentations and public speaking and workshops, like all around the world now, in sort of Tenerife and La Palma. And then the pandemic hit. And it was crazy, man. Like, all of that, my talks and
public events and workshops were just getting cancelled, and all of my commercial jobs were getting cancelled, and it was just a really terrifying time. And like, I'm sure everybody had it bad when the pandemic hit. And, you know, it was a very worrying time, just like watching all that income just sort of crash and not knowing how long this pandemic is going to go on for. And it was very nerve-wracking, anxious time. And I did what I could only do, and that was to turn to YouTube. And I changed my content to sort of tutorial-based stuff that people could do at home during lockdown. That worked out pretty well. But if it wasn't for the support of people on Patreon, it would have been a lot more difficult and like mentally a lot more challenging. And I cannot thank my supporters on Patreon enough. I'm a terrible Patreon, I'm sorry. I'm very inconsistent, and especially this year, I've had a very strange 2021. It's been a bit of a crazy ride so far, but my Patreon supporters have my back again. It's so difficult to put into words how grateful I am for those people. It's overwhelming and just incredibly motivating. So huge shout out to those guys, and you should all thank them, because their support goes into making better YouTube videos, me being able to make better YouTube videos and do better things. And now going forward in the future, I've got my book coming very, very soon. I promise you guys, it'll be out this year. I know I've been saying this for a long time, but we want it to be perfect, not rushed. And we're getting there. We are really getting there. Please make sure to sign up to my mailing list so that you do get updated about any news about the book. And also so that you get updated about any news on a Photoshop panel that I'm currently working on as well. So an extension for Photoshop that's going to make it easier for you to edit your astro images, to make your astro images better. Super excited for that. So just to summarize, like, buying a camera, getting into photography for me, just amalgamated everything that I loved doing, everything that I was good at doing, into one neat little package. And to be able to turn that into a business and to live from it is, I wake up every morning incredibly grateful and feeling incredibly privileged. And I couldn't have got here without you guys watching right now. All of you guys that have liked, subscribed, commented, shared my work with other people. All of this stuff has helped me grow and build a business. And yeah, I don't know what to say. It's just amazing. Like, thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, please get down in the comments below. This has probably been a really long video. I'm sorry if it was quite boring. And yeah, if you're going out to enjoy the night sky anytime soon, I wish you good luck and clear skies.